Great evening, everyone, and welcome to Sister to Sister Talk Power Moves. Come on in the room. Happy Monday. Come on in the room. Come on in the room. Take a moment to click and share. Remember that this time is for you. Go ahead and take a moment to click and share. I'm going to make sure that I'm clicking and sharing as well. Come on in the room. Sharing is caring. And so we want you to come on into Sister to Sister Talk Power Moves. Welcome, everybody. My name is Mone't Horton. I am the visionary and host, and just truly honored to be here tonight. I am honored every time I get to wake up in the morning because I know that someone else didn't have that opportunity to do so. And so I'm just blessed to be here. And of course, I'm joined tonight with my awesome, amazing, beautiful co-host, Tiara Parker. Say hey to the people.
Hey, everybody. Happy Monday.
Yes, yes. And yes, you know how we do it. Every time you get right to that end, I'll be like, okay, what's she about to, what's she getting ready to do? What ad lib can I expect tonight? Okay. How you feeling tonight, T?
I'm feeling good. I am feeling grateful. And honestly in disbelief that we are at the end of November.
And we are, we go through this every
We
week.
do. We do. It's ridiculous. It's
So we are
ridiculous.
here. We are here. And I might as well say happy Thanksgiving.
Yes. Yes.
Are you prepared for Thanksgiving? I know you like to
Um,
cook.
I do love to cook, but I'm not cooking this Thanksgiving, and
What?
I'm honestly not sorry about it. One eensy weensy little bit.
You what? Y'all, Tiara, she can throw down in the kitchen. All right. Now I can do a little something, something, but my sister here, she can throw down in the kitchen. So you're not okay. So you get to
I'm
take a
not.
break.
I am, but it'll be on and popping for Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
Full spread and all the things. Um, but I'm a take a beat for Thanksgiving.
I love it. Well, I'm happy that you get to take a break because I know you are always in the kitchen and doing your thing. That's just another sidebar, y'all. Listen, if you looking for someone to cater, have a special touch, homemade cooking, listen, and you bake too, right? Listen, I'm
I
putting it
do.
all
I do. I sure do.
putting it all out there. What they say, laying on the line. So we are here. Look, it's no turning back, y'all. We are here. We want to invite you to come on in the room, take a moment to click and share. We are grateful. This month of November, we shared it in our Move newsletter. Hey, side note, if you have not yet subscribed to the Move newsletter, you want to make sure that you do it ASAP. But it's some great tips, great content to keep you in movement. We always say and we believe that we are committed to living a life in action. And
Absolutely.
so we shared in our Move newsletter that this is gratitude month, right?
Yes.
This is gratitude
Mhm.
month. And of course, we're grateful every day, but
Yes.
especially on this month, we're taking that time to go above and beyond, step out of our comfort zone. And so we invite you all to join us in that regard. Well, come on in the room, y'all. We have a special guest tonight. He is not a stranger to Sister Talk Power Moves. And actually, as we look back at our Rolodex, we said, wow, this is a divine time. This might be your annual slot, Dr. E, my big bro, here on Sister to Sister. But we are welcoming back Dr. Eric L. Holmes to our Sister to Sister Talk Power Moves platform. When the gentlemen come, we say this is the male's perspective. And tonight, if you know anything about my brother, he's going to talk about the power of the seed, the power of the pen, and the power whatever it is. But he is going to share with you a word. And so tonight, as we are in the season of harvest, harvest season, the seasons are changing. And, I said, this is a great time to talk about that power of the seed and the power of the seeds that we sow. When we talk about sowing, it's really about that investment, whether it's your money, whether it's your finances, whether it's your time, your energy, or your efforts. And so, listen, I don't even want to jump. I ain't going to jump in before we bring our guest on. but this is a necessary conversation. So please go ahead and take a moment to click and share, because you are sure to get some good nuggets tonight, some seeds that if you follow the divine instruction, you will reap a fine harvest in your life. And so let me share Dr. E's bio. He is a native of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. He moved to Baltimore, Maryland, where he has worked as an essential employee for over 26 years. He serves as an elder at Beth-El Temple Church, where he has been a member for 29 years. He joined the Beth-El Temple Church under the late Apostle Robert Evans Jr. and currently serves under Bishop Richard Pender Sr. Dr. E's fervor to excel, when I say fervor, it's fervor, to excel and maximize his potential has led him to earn an impressive number of awards at Johns Hopkins, the Edward Halle Award, the Martin Luther King Jr. Award, the Radiology Customer Service Award, and Employee of the Year. With a passion and dedication to further his education and help others through his teachings, Dr. Holmes earned a bachelor's and master's degree in biblical studies and theology, as well as a master's degree, come on, brother, and doctorate in Christian education at the North Carolina College of Theology. Dr. Holmes is a certified life coach, behavioral and mental health coach. He is a published, award-winning bestseller author and radio host who possesses a great love for his family and church. Without further ado, let's go ahead and welcome my big bro, Dr. E, my personal PR, to the platform. Come on in. How are you today, Dr. E?
Hey, what's going on, Momo? What's going on, T? My two amazing little sisters. God is faithful. God is good. And yes, it's been a year already. Can you believe it? 365 days. And here we are yet back at it again. And so God is good and God is faithful. And it's so amazing that we would be back on this platform a whole year later. And so I am grateful, thankful, just hey, still being in the land of the living, celebrated another year of life. And so for that, I am definitely grateful and I am thankful, and even to be on your amazing platform. So I'm grateful and I am thankful. And I just look forward to just sharing, on tonight.
Absolutely. Bro, and I'll say bro, because this is how we flow. So who is Dr. E? Who is Dr. Eric Holmes? We know the awards. We know you are one of the number one PR gurus and all promoting and pushing, and if no one else knows or feels it, listen, your little sister, you are one of the number one cheerleaders, definitely in my life, and I appreciate it. But besides all of that, who is Dr. E at your core? Who are you?
I'm just a humble servant who said yes, and just, walking in purpose, fulfilling purpose, and just being all that God has called and designed for me to be, and just just continuing to live, and just coming from a family of eight, just just wanting, as for family, and all the education and all of that. But at the root of it all, just a humble servant who said yes.
Who said yes? When you said who said yes, and tonight we're talking about the power of sowing seeds, right? Sowing seed. And I think about how our yes is a seed.
Yes.
How our yes is being planted. And once we make that first move, I think about my life, and it wasn't until I said yes, and yes to whatever. I mean, it's so many things. You have to keep saying yes over and over again. I think every day that we wake up and open up our eyes, it's another declaration and a commitment or decision that has to be made to say yes. And let me know that you all can hear me loud and clear. Can you all still hear me?
Yes.
And so I think about that yes being a seed. What is, when we talk about seed sowing, and I know this is a topic and a mantra actually, in your life, what are the tenets, or what is at that first stage of, or why is seed sowing important?
It is so important because, first of all, it's the word. And when we talk about seed time, when we talk about harvest, but when we talk about the core of it, everything starts with a seed. Christ is the ultimate seed for us. And everything starts with a seed. Nothing's going to grow without a seed. We were a seed. And so one must understand the preparation and the process in which of the making or being ready in the planning of it, that everything points back to a seed. You won't get a harvest without seeding. We won't be here without a seed. And the thing about it is that it is so important, but where we sow and how we sow, determines the outcome of the harvest, determines the outcome of what is going to be produced.
Where we sow, it determines the outcome of the harvest. So it's not only the fact that it's important that we sow and make that move and say yes, but where you're so, we just can't sow anywhere. And so I know in the word talks about the stony ground, all the different places, right? You have these different options, but it's important. How does one navigate that process when it comes to sowing seed?
Just like from the farmer, from the agricultural aspect, and when I had studied Jewish history and the laws of harvest and seed time, harvest and agriculture, one of the things is there's process and preparation before you can seed, sow, or plant. But even as the word says, you want to make sure it's good ground. The farmer, knowing that's a way of living, knowing that's the agriculture, it has to first toil in making sure the ground is ready and making sure that it's going to be good ground. Then once he understands that, then, the process, the preparation, then the seeding, the sowing, the planting, we're skipping the process or trying to skip the process without first going back, dealing with the basics of it. And you want to make sure it's ground, just like with your yard. You want to, if you're planting new grass, all of that, you got to pull up the weeds and all of that. And when you are planting those seeds, and you want to make sure that you've cleared the weeds and so that things are not choking the seed.
So in our lives, what are some examples of things that could choke the seed, to choke our seed? Come on, let's go there tonight.
One, when you sow in bad ground, when it's not good ground, that's not going to produce. You look at when he cursed the fig tree. Like, if it's not yielding anything, why would you continue to sow there? Even in relationships, friendships, relationship, if it's not producing something, why continue to sow there? if it's not going to produce something. If I'm planting, I can't plant here. If I'm saying I'm planting apples and I want oranges, but yet I'm not planting orange, the seeds for that, or in the right climate, or in the right season. You can't get it, because here's the thing. It's climate, it's season. Everything does not grow in the same climate or the same season. We know that Florida, we deem that for, oranges, right?
Mm-hmm.
Over here, there's another place where it deals with apples, or I know when we were in Dominican Republic, when we went to see how they made coffee, different climates, different seasons. I'm not trying to plant oranges over there when they're growing coffee.
Come on.
But yet we can get it mixed up with. That's why you got to know the seasons, you got to know the climate, you got to know the timing and season. We know over here that if I'm looking for bananas, you got to know where are you planting, where are you sowing.
Mone't, when you said in our lives, what is something that can choke the seed? The first thing that came to mind for me was generational curses.
Wow.
Because we a lot of times are moving, or we think that we're moving. We think that we're being productive. We think that just because we're being busybodies, that equates to productivity. And it does not. Just because your time is lapsing in the day and you're going from place to place and talking to person does not mean that you're being productive or even that you're in alignment. You can be a busybody and make no progress. And you're wondering why, but you haven't even taken a moment to look at your history to see where you come from. If you don't know where and what you come from, you're going to repeat the same cycles. And you'll be planting all these seeds and wondering why nothing is growing and you're bearing no fruit.
Wow.
And that's powerful. You got to get to the root of it. What is the root of it? What is the basis of it? Even if you cut things off and you never cut it off at the root, it will always grow back.
Always. Always.
So, and sometimes to that point, when we talk about, let's break it down. Power, the word power is a force, right? It's the influence. So when we say the power of the seed, our seed has that power, right? And it carries weight. And that's why everything that we're saying in terms is important, where you're sowing, with the seeds, and all of those things. And so when you were saying that, I'm thinking that sometimes we're wondering why certain things are popping up in our lives, why it can be a different, you can leave one relationship and go into another relationship, for example, and it's like a different person, but the same it's the same person in a different body, and you like, wait a minute, but what seeds, right? It can be in your friendships. It can be in the different, if it's a church, if it's a ministry, it can be the job, and your job, certain people you keep attracting, right? And so I think that these are all things that can choke our results. What we bear, right? When we sow, what we're bearing is the results, what it's yielding. And so that's why I believe that we're so in a season that it is important for us to know where you sow. Be clear. Know where you are sowing. If it's no longer serving or yielding, the first step is evaluating. Before we're at a pivotal time. I counted the days. We're at day 37 days. Well, in a couple of hours, it's going to be 36, right? Until the end of the year. And so before we get there, Start now and taking a moment to evaluate where you are. Where are you investing your time? Where are you investing your energies? Where are you investing your efforts? If it's not yielding, then it's time to release it because it's choking. If it's not yielding, then it's choking. It's preventing you from moving forward. Come on, y'all. Listen.
And it's even seeds of our hopes, our dreams, our aspiration, our goals. But all of that still has to undergo the process that can appear. It may be slow, may be painful in the midst of the waiting. But what we must understand is, though, it's the seed and the final product, the final results of what you want. And so even when the word says in Mark 31:32, when it says, listen, just like the mustard seed, and I just pulled this off of my Vision Go in prayer board, look how tiny the seed is. But yet it says, it can move mountains, but it grows into the largest of garden plants with such branches where even the birds perch under the shade. Now that's the power of the seed. That's how powerful the seed is, but it was sown. And in the process, in the preparation of it, that's how powerful. But all of that, even with the seed, it's a divine ordinance in creation governed by the laws of one which seed time and harvest. But you've got to make sure you're seeding and sowing in the right ground, in the right soil. Whether it's like you said, in relationships, friendships, it's just like a tree that grows, right? It started with a seed, but then you got a root, you got leaves, you got branches. Listen, I always use this analogy. A leaf will wither, a branch will leave you hanging, but when you got a root, it will expand and grow. But what do you have? You've got to determine what you have: a root, a branch, a leaf. Even in people, places, and things. Where am I going to continue to sow my time, my talent? Even when it comes to tithes, all of that. Where are we sowing? What are we seeding? But then what are the results that we're looking for? Or as they say, you can't keep doing the same thing and get the same result. You'll get the same results.
So you got to have an expectation. Put an expectation on your seed.
Absolutely. I name my seed, and that's why even on my tithing, my envelopes, my seeding, where do I need this seed to go? Whether it's to save family, miracles, debt-free, I name my seed, and I know when I'm planting in good ground that it's going to produce a harvest.
Come on, somebody put in the chat. Welcome, y'all. I name my seed.
Yeah, I put a name to it.
Make it personal. I name my seed from this day forth. If you're sowing, name your seed. My goodness. Woo! You got to have great expectation.
You have to expect it. My bishop says it all the time. You've got to expect it. What are you expecting? If I'm not expecting nothing, I'm not going to get nothing. And if I don't put nothing in it, just like, for a harvest, people want a harvest, but you cannot get a harvest without a seed.
Yeah.
And you can't skip the process.
No. Your seed is your resource. Sometimes we're looking for something, but your seed is your resource, and God is the source. Because
we go back to the word when even in Genesis 8:22 says, as long as the earth remains, there shall be seed, time, and harvest. So he's already given us the blueprint. He's already given us the layout, and Paul said, listen, you don't have to get weary. You got to keep doing good. You got a harvest coming. It just don't faint. So we already have the blueprint. We already have the instructions. We just got to follow it. He gives us the power to get wealth. He's already laid it out for us, but are we following the instructions that he gave? Are we following the blueprint? It's already been laid out.
Yeah. Let me ask you. So let's break this down a little bit, because a lot of, we always throw around seed time and harvest. Everyone might not understand it. It might, sound simple, right? But seed, time, and harvest. What does that mean?
One, everything starts with a seed. There's timing, there's a harvest. And here's what I always say to people. A lot of times we can deal with it from the agriculture, right? We can also deal it with the spiritual, because most believers, when they see, they're looking for a harvest, right? But as a farmer, it's a way of living. And so when seed time and harvest, when you deal with that, because everything starts with the seed, you've got to make sure you're seeding, right? But here's the harvest that's going to come. The timing, that's why you got to operate in the timing and season of God. Because a lot of times people say, oh, it's my season, but is it time? They'll say it's my time, but is it season? I say, but if you operate in the timing and season of God, guess what? You can't go wrong. And so what happens is we're looking, because that's why it takes process preparation. And that's why you can't rush the seed of that, whatever you planted, whatever you've sown. You can't rush it, because it takes time. And even for a seed, it germinates through the underground process to get to the set time and season to produce a harvest. The farmer can still get excited, but the middle process is where we get stuck. The middle process, even in the waiting, we get stuck, because the waiting process. Not only that, it's that middle process that's critical, crucial, and key, because now it's got to be watered, it's got to be harvested, it's got to be nurtured. Then as it germinates through the underground process to get to the set time and season, the farmer in the first year, it may not even happen. So what does he do? He starts it all over. And not that he got to get discouraged, but he knows he's got something coming, because he's planted, he's seeded, he's sown, he's watered, he's nurtured. And so then he starts the process all over again. And guess what? Then when he starts seeing, even say the next year, and he starts seeing and it starts coming up, he already knows he can get excited. And then he can reference back to when Paul said in Galatians 6:9, you ain't got to get weary, keep on doing good. You got a harvest coming. He didn't faint because he didn't see it in the first year. We get we can get discouraged, or we can get anxious, or we can get upset about the waiting period, but it's in that waiting process. You cannot rush the seed. You cannot rush the harvest. Just like with gold, you can't. It's got to go through the entire process in order to be pure gold. You can't take it out in the middle of the process. Even with us, we can't come out, because we will not be fully developed. We will not be fully nurtured. If we take it out, you know how people pray me out of this. No, let them go through the full process, because it's that learning, it's that process, the preparation that's going to produce something great at the end of it.
Woo!
Dr. E, Jesus, Jesus, that was such a boy, that was such a word, because I feel like, first of all, I agree with everything that you said, because I feel like a lot of us are moving through the world as Aladdin, treating the Lord as a genie, like, oh, we rubbed the lamp and out comes the miracle, right? Instead of treating him and treating our harvest as a farmer. And it's what you said is so pivotal and so crucial, because we cannot treat God like a genie. We can't treat him like a genie. We can't say, oh, God, deliver me from this, or Lord, help me get debt free. But you don't want to take classes. You don't want to save. You don't want to do the work. Like, you have to do the work in order to receive the harvest at the end. And it's like a garden. The gardens don't happen overnight. They start with nothing. They start with just regular grass. And sometimes it's not even any grass there.
It's dirt.
It doesn't happen overnight. But I think we get lost in this process, that because God is so miraculous, he now, let's be clear, he can give you the miracle tomorrow. He can.
He can.
He can do it. However, if he gave us the miracles the very next day without the process, we would be spoiled brats with no development, no maturity. He takes us through the process because we have to grow. We have to learn. How do you expect to grow and develop in your craft and not have a pruning process? How does that work?
It takes process and preparation, just like with your trees and all. It's the pruning, because if you never take away all of that, we got to be pruned just like these trees or just like whatever. It's the pruning. But here's the thing: when you talked about that timing, the season, the harvest, something came to mind, and I said the process to getting an end result, right, is always process that will produce at the right timing and season. But we got to follow the plan and don't get weary while we're in the midst of the waiting. Because guess what? There's an appointed time and there's a set time. God has the appointed time and the set time. And that's when we understand that when the power of the seed becomes so evident as you continue to sow and plant. Because something greater is being producing. Something is being produced. And when it comes to that, and guess what? In the soul order, in that sowing and receiving, guess what? There, when that set time and that appointed time, and you take the necessary steps to activate the harvest by sowing, seeding, and planting. But it's the waiting that gets you through it. It's how we wait. It's in our preparation of the wait. It's our posture of the wait. We want a lot of things, or as my bishop would say, waiting may not be popular, but it still works. It pays the wait on God. It pays the wait on the full development of it, because if we don't, it will be immature. And the late Apostle Evans said this, and I put it in my book, The Power of the Seed. He said, I don't want nothing premature because I might not be able to handle it. Woo! We want things and we get it too soon. If I got that harvest the next day, I wouldn't be able to handle it. We want millions, say we want to be a millionaire. If you can't handle what you already have, what are you going to do with that? You're not, if you're, and it talks about, that's why it talks about being a good steward over everything, our time, our talent, all of that, being a good steward over that which he's entrusted. You can go back to the parable of the talents. But how we handle it. And you can't handle things if he gave it to it like that. You know, one of the illustrations is with the microwave, the oven, and the crock pot that I put in one of the books. Why? Everything can't go in the oven. Everything doesn't go in the crock pot. Everything doesn't go in the microwave. If I put the cake in a microwave, no, this is not easy bake oven. And I always use the illustration of my first lady, because she can bake. Lady Pender can bake, right? She knows her craft, you know, always perfecting it. I mean, can bake, but she's got to make sure all the ingredients, she got to make sure she gives it time to bake and all of that. You know, we want things overnight. It's like a microwave, and you know how we would put TV dinners in the microwave and you take it out. It may be steaming, but you stick the fork in it and it's frozen. So what do you got to do? You got to allow more time. You got to put it back in. You want to make sure it is done. And just like with us, even for the harvest, you want to make sure you get a full harvest. So if I'm trying to pick it too soon, if I want it so fast and I don't give it time to develop, I don't give it time to, as the seed germinates through the underground process, and then I'm trying to get it and pick it now, I'm not going to have a full harvest, nor am I going to have a good harvest.
My. As you were talking, I was thinking about when you talked about, you know, we think that God is a genie and, you know, all these different things, right? Is that we also, what is the intent behind us sowing the seed? What is the intent? Because if you think you can just, I can sow this seed over here, right? Oh, and God going to do something over here. But if your intent is not even right, then you're not even approaching this thing right. And your harvest, thus your harvest, won't be there. You know what I'm saying? Because you're not aligned.
Your heart posture is important.
Your heart posture.
It is, and that is so important. Our posture and our position to God, you know, and how we're waiting, even in our expectation. But you just said something that just hit me. And you've got to be even strategic and wise and consider the ground you're sowing in. Why is that? Because a farmer gives the great example when he's preparing the ground and about to plant and sow. But that process, that preparation, the process, but understanding what it's going to produce. You got to even ask yourself, am I sowing properly when it comes to the seed? Am I looking at it from another perspective? What am I looking for it to produce? Am I looking for a harvest? What am I looking for? What am I expecting with all this seeding, all this sowing? But am I giving it the right amount of time for it to grow? And you can determine the harvest by what you plant when it comes to seed time and harvest. But God always has our best interests at heart. But it's a matter of the heart. It's an intent. Are my intentions? What am I doing this for?
What am I doing?
Isaiah, yes, he says he gives seed to the sower. But what am I sowing? How am I sowing? What am I sowing? And when was the last time you sown, or have you sown? And where was it? Like, it could be not just, and we look at it as not money, it's seed. Just like when they were giving away turkeys, I said, well, I'll get one for somebody. I knew I wasn't going to cook, but to be a blessing to somebody that didn't have one. Seeding in good ground, and somebody needed, you know what I'm saying? But it's other ways you could be helping somebody, giving somebody good intentions, right intentions, and with the right heart and right motive.
My goodness. It pays.
Yes.
It pays. And it's more, like you said, it's more than just the money. So some people are just stuck at the money, but how are you investing your time? If you are not even a good steward of your time, what do you think that the money is going to do? We have to have a level of self-discipline. I was studying this morning, self-discipline, which is also self-control. And that is a fruit of the Spirit. Being self-controlled, having that self-management, right? All of those different things. And so money will make us more of what we are right already. Relationship, it's just going to put a bigger, cast a greater shine on whatever it is that you're doing already. So what are the practices? What are the disciplines that are already in place? So what do you need to stop? What do you need to start? So it goes into our actions. It goes into our behaviors. It goes into our decisions. The seed sowing, it's all connected.
And there's steps to take. One of the things that I'll give you an illustration that's going kind of, we got something cooking, me and Mo, we always out networking and brainstorming, but you've got to even assess the land. You got to toil the land. And that's what a farmer does. And then when it comes to the seeding and the planting, nurturing, even naturally and spiritually, you got to you got to do it even naturally and spiritually. What are we planning? What are we seeding into these temples, into our lives? And then so many people then start asking the question, how long will it take for my harvest? When will my harvest be small or great? When should I continue? Well, it depends on what you're seeding and sowing, because the word tells us he that soweth in abundance is going to reap in abundance. So everything also points back to the word. What? Because Christ is the ultimate seed for us. Everything starts with the seed. So you can go back to the word. But yeah, if you want a great harvest, yes. He that soweth in abundance going to reap. So I can't look at Mo's harvest or Tiara's harvest and, be looking at them, but they may have sown greater. They have made planted greater.
And the timing.
Again, and the timing and season.
Going back to the timing. When we sow the seed, you have to give it time. And then your harvest. If God wants to bless it, like you said, he can do whatever he wants.
Yes.
But still know that you have to give it time. And all of our time is different. But we have to hold fast.
Even in your businesses, or whatever you may be an entrepreneur. One of the billionaires said to me, he said, Dr. E, success doesn't happen overnight. It happens over time. He's seeding into his business. He's seeding over time. It's going to happen over time. It's not overnight. And a lot of times we want so many things like so fast overnight. We want it like a microwavable, but guess what? You better give it time. Just like you can't take the cake out or the turkey out too soon, because it won't be done. You have to allow the timing. You have to allow the allotted time. There's what I say. There's an appointed time. There's a set time.
It's so interesting. What just dropped in my spirit is I feel like one of the best real life examples we have of a harvest is parenthood. Mm-hmm. Because as parents, you pour and you pour and you pour, right? You're trying to discipline them. You're trying to teach them. You're trying to show them the way. And during this time and in this process, you're feeling like, oh, they're not listening. Oh, they're not getting it. Lord, help me. I don't know what to do. This child. And then one day that child comes back to you and regurgitates the lessons that you've taught them. If that is not a harvest, I don't know what is. And if we looked at our harvest as raising a child instead of rubbing a lamp that we're just going to easily get our miracles from, I think we would be a little more patient, just because every parent knows, every auntie knows, every godmommy knows, anyone that has any contact with children know that it does not happen overnight.
No. We didn't happen overnight.
That part.
Hello.
That part.
We were even a seed.
But they planted in us. And that as it grew, as it matured, as it was watered, as it was nurtured, guess what? At the end result, when they can see what is at the end result, it was something being produced. It was something, it had to be nurtured. First of all, it had to be seeded. Then the nurturing, the harvesting of it, and as it grew, as it continued, and now you look at the end of it, and like you said, they come back and they remember, or they'll come back and say, thank you. This was a lesson. As they come back and say, wow, I need it. Now I understand. Now I know. And then if they got families, then they say, wow, and so now you understand. It was part of the process. It was part of part of the process, that preparation, the teaching, the training, all of that. Now you look at the other result of it.
That part.
And it tells you on the flip side, hey, if it was some things that you didn't hit, you didn't dot the I, cross the T.
That part.
It's like, okay, maybe I sown that ground was good. That seed went in good ground, but then over here it was like,
That's true. That's true though.
And then parents who have, multiple, they have multiple children. If you have multiple children, it might have been a season in your life. One child.
Yes.
Where you saw, you were able to see, one child is walking on the straight and narrow. And then the other child is like, wait a minute, what was I doing? Did I drop you? What
Listen.
Did you bump your head? Because you're doing everything else. So you're absolutely right. It's when we look at our lives and pay attention to our lives, we can see the seeds that we've sown. But when we see it, we have to see it for really what it is, and choose it and realize that, hey, if I need to change my actions, make a change, whatever I need to do, let's do that. Like we said when we started out, if it's not yielding fruit, going back to our book, what fruit are you bearing?
Yes, Lord.
What fruit are you bearing? If it's not bearing any fruit, then that negates the whole purpose. And I also want to say that, it's our time, our efforts, all of those things, our energy, our money, But it's also our kindness, our love, long suffering, meekness, all the joy. All of these things are seeds that we can sow into other people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's really tonight, I believe, a self-examination and reflection on where are we in bearing fruit and living a productive life. Not just a life when we wake up in the morning where the hours go by, the moments and all of these things go by every day. But at the end of the day, I want to know that I've had a productive day. I had a meeting early this morning. And before we got off, they said, oh my goodness, this was a productive meeting. And I said, yes, it was productive. I love production, right? Because, oh my goodness, y'all, I can't stand being in a meeting where it's like, okay, we've been talking about this over and over again. Like, what is the results? Because my goodness, when we come back, please, let's not start from scratch. But I want to, that's why I'm just result driven. And so again, it's a self-reflection, taking that moment to really see where we at, what are we doing? Is it bearing fruit? If not, then a change has to take place. Nothing changes until something changes.
And that's why it's so important when you understand that a harvest will be at the set time and in the season of the right timing that the harvest will be. And so the harvest is determined by what you have planted and sown, but you must continue the process. Here's where we get stuck. You got to continue the process. It's ongoing.
It is.
And in that rule of reciprocity, it holds true. Even as Isaiah 55, he does give seed to the sower, but don't stop sowing. Don't stop following the process called sowing and reaping. And the harvest or the seed, it may even take a while. But you just got to know that it's coming. That's the expectation. I know it's coming. I've known, I've planted, I've seeded, I've watered, I've nurtured, I've harvested. I know it's coming. Even with delays, it's still coming. And it's going to manifest because the word says it. And how I follow the process and the preparation and in my waiting. And then here's what I tell them. Just keep watching and nurturing what you planted. Your business, your dream, your ideals, your goals. Or as I look at this vision goal and prayer board, I looked at it the other night, like keep watching what you planted, what you see, and watch the manifestation. But it's an ongoing process. I can't stop sowing because I was like, my harvest is, taking too long. Or when I did the book, my next season is due season. There's a due season coming. There's a harvest season coming. But the process, the preparation, it may take a while, even with delays, even with disruptions, even with things that may happen along the way. But if you follow the plan and instruction that God gave, it will always end in victory. No matter what happens in the middle of the process, I know I got a harvest coming at the end.
Well, come on. I'm literally in a season where when I looked at my business, and T, because you and I reconnected, it's been over 10 years, and my business is Mo's Enterprise is coming up on about 11 years now. Wow. And when I started, oh my God, I know I had a vision. I know you told me to leave my place of employment, right? Y'all, this has been 11 years ago. And I left the second time. I went back and I was like, what? Like, God, am I going? The questions that went in my head was like, God, is this what you want me to do? Am I going back to do the same thing? Like, what is going on? It made me question for a little bit whether or not he really told me to leave the first time. But I went back because he opened the door. Everything was aligned, right? But it was a part of the seed that I had to sow, right? And now, in retrospect, so I went back, he expanded the ground, right, that I was sowing in. And I didn't even realize the harvest of the lives that were being impacted. And sometimes when we are going back, right? You and I talked about during lunch, detours.
Mm-hmm.
The detour is only as good as if you follow those instructions in the detour. If your detour say go left and you go right, then you know. But if you follow, so I felt like I was on a detour and that I was going, I'm like, okay, but I still followed the course.
Mm-hmm.
And when God told me it's time to shift again, I was obedient in that. And now, 11 years out, y'all, I am literally seeing, right? And it's funny that I just said 11 because it is 11 years and the number 11 always keeps showing up for me, the 11, 11, 11. And when I tell you, if I would have gave up,
Mm-hmm.
the fruit that's coming out, the harvest that's coming out, slowly but surely, it's like, Mo, you in the right place at the right time. Stay the course. Don't give up. Because entrepreneurship is not for the faint in heart, y'all. Let me tell you. Listen, it's not. But I'm saying all this to say is that I was sowing seeds and my intent, we talked about tonight, evaluating. We talked about backing up your seed with expectation. What is the intent behind your seed? All of the giving it time. And when I say time, it's so many things in my life that it's like, all right, Lord, time between business, personal life, all right, like husband, like all of these things. But I know, right, in this season of holding on, I said, God, you cooking up something real good for me. So my encouragement tonight is, y'all, do not get weary in well-doing, because you shall reap if you faint not. But the thing about, while I was going and navigating through these places and spaces, and when I felt like I was on a detour, I still had to keep my ear to God so that I can be obedient in an alignment. And there was some places and times where it's like, okay, God, course correct, but we have to allow him to course correct us so that we can get to the harvest.
And that's so powerful, because the seeds provide a productive, advantage that the seed, your vision, your ideals, but listen, even to survive under all of the conditions favorable for the growth. And that that plant, that seed that contains the qualities that will enable, it to grow even when extended time and in various conditions, you still got to understand and know it's something greater on the other side. It's coming. It's just in the timing and season. But like you said, you can expect that harvest. You can expect that blessing because you sowed, you nurtured it, you harvested, but you waited. And how you waited, even in the delays, even in the detours. And delays, what I always use this analogy, when we were in Aruba, delayed on purpose, with purpose, for purpose, but still on schedule, because God's still on schedule. And we just were delayed. We were just in the waiting, but it was still on schedule because it was already done in eternity, that just manifested in the earth realm.
Jesus.
So I am in expectation of this great heart, because I've been planning, I've been sowing, I've been doing it, and it's an ongoing process. So that's why it takes the process, the preparation, and in the producing of it. It's going to be a product. It's going to be a harvest. It's going to be that due season at the end, because I went through the necessary process. I went through the steps. I went as even following the word and instructions in my posture, my position, my faith to knowing he's going to do it, my faith to know that it's going to happen. Because if I don't believe any of it, nothing's going to happen.
My goodness.
You got to have faith enough to believe it and put your faith to work, put your faith to action. And then you got to work while you wait on the manifestation. That farmer got to keep on working while he's waiting on the manifestation of the harvest. It's his living. It's his way of produce. So he got to keep on. We've got to keep on doing. We got to keep on going. We got to keep on producing, sowing, and knowing that at the end result, what is the end result that you're looking for?
Be clear. Let's be clear.
Be clear.
on that? Wow. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, I just need to know, have you been blessed tonight? You got to work while you wait. Don't get weary. This is not only about our spiritual, like our spiritual core, right? But every area of our lives. God is in everything. In your work, in your business, in your health, right? In your body. What seeds are you sowing? Your fitness? What's going on? This is good. This is beyond good. Because like you said in the very beginning, that there is a plan. There's already a strategy in place. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I believe we can blow it up and get so overwhelmed, on this. But God, he gives us I think he just gives us so simple formulas to live by, principles that we can apply to our lives. And if we can just be obedient and lean into these and take the time to cultivate them in our lives, then we will see the harvest.
And when I talked about naming your seed, and that's why I said whether it's for family to be saved, miracles, healing, you're naming where I need this seed to go. That's why you got to make sure it's in the right ground, the good ground, because I need this to go here, God. I need my family to say, I need a miracle over here. I need healing over here. You know what I'm saying? And so the thing about it is that's why it is so important. And that's why you can understand and know that your seed really does have power. Everything starts with a seed.
Yeah.
It really starts with a seed. And the thing about it is, then you got to think about it. Where have I sown? What have I sown? What am I expecting? Am I putting my faith to work even when it comes to tithing and people struggle even in that? It is a part of worship. It is a part of giving, but he backs that. I love it because he backs that word up with a promise. If he said, if you bring your tithes into the house, he said in his store once, revelation of it said into the storehouse, but he says he's going to open the windows of heaven. He's going to pour out a blessing. He's going to rebuke the vow. But guess what? We're going to be a delightsome blessing in the name. So he backs this up with a promise. He's given us a formula that's guaranteed, as my bishop preached the other way, a guarantee. It's a guarantee. That's a guaranteed success.
Y'all, you done got the blueprint tonight, okay? The blueprint. Dr. E, close us out. Like, you have given some powerful nuggets tonight on the power of sowing seed, seed time and harvest, giving it time, just some really phenomenal principles and nuggets, tips that we can take away and apply to our lives. What would be your final words to our viewers tonight? As it pertains to this time and this seed sowing and time in this harvest?
Listen, continue to plant, whether it's seeds of happiness, hope, success, because it's going to all come back in abundance. But whether it's your seed of determination, make sure that you're focused and determined in what am I planning? Ask yourself, toil the land. And making sure that when I'm planning, when I'm sowing, that I'm in that expectation, one, of the waiting process, of the waiting period, so I don't get weary. And that's why it's an ongoing process that you got to stay focused, just like with the turtle and the rabbit. Now, and with this, it wasn't how fast he was going. He kept on going. It wasn't how he started, but how he finished. And so even if the rabbit took the break and laughed at the turtle, here's what he did. And God gave me this. He stayed in the lane. He worked the lane that he was given, and he crossed the finish line. And so if my harvest may be delayed, or my harvest seems that it's not moving, I just continue to process. I stay in expectation. I continue to put my faith to work, and I work while I wait on the manifestation. And then what I do, I'm in expectation, but I do it. It's an ongoing process, so I don't get weary. I stay focused and I stay determined, and I do, as the words say, run this race with patience.
Yes, 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 and yes. Wow. Wow. Y'all, I've been blessed tonight. Have you all been blessed? I see you out there, Sunshine. She says she has been blessed tonight. Listen, y'all, work while you wait. Don't just wait. It's not just good enough to say that you sown the seed, but what is the intent and expectation backing up your seed? And even in the timing of it all while you're waiting, right? It's how you wait. So what's your posture in your wait? And then your harvest, what's the expectation that you put on it? What is the, be clear on the outcome, the results, right, that you're looking for in your harvest. And so there you have it. That's the plan, the game plan. So let's take this time, let's be intentional, right, and really taking a moment to evaluate so that we can activate and elevate in our lives. Lady T, you have any closing remarks?
I think Dr. E put the period on that thing.
Right. Damn.
I don't have anything.
Listen, Dr. E, before we leave tonight, let us know. So what's going on in your world in terms of anything that's coming up, or how to follow you if someone wants to follow you, where to get your books, all of those wonderful things.
Yep, I am on all the social media platforms: Facebook, Eric Holmes, IG, the Power of the Seed, LinkedIn, Dr. Eric Holmes. I am on Twitter, Dr. Eric Holmes. So all the social media website, or you can also go and catch some snippets of the Praise 104.4 gospel, which you just download the app Live 365 and tune into my radio show. But Mo, we have some things in the works. So just look out. Something's going to really bless you that I got getting ready to put out before the end of the year that will help you understand truly how powerful the seed is. And so, and then working on 2025 for the Power of the Pen, the Authors Expo, because there's power in the pen connected to power of the seed. So you got to know that you got power in the pen, but you got power in the seed, but you just got to know how to use it. And then you got to know how to write it.
Come on, y'all. Listen, you hear my brother, Dr. E, right from his lips, y'all. The power. We are closing out the year and with so much power and trailblazing into 2025 with the power, you all. Here it is, the power of the seed. I pray that you all have been blessed. So great to see you, Joyce. Pleasure connecting with you. We will be connecting soon. You all take a moment to subscribe to Sister to Sister Talk Power Moves on our YouTube channel. You can search it under Mone't S. Horton. We are growing and we are flowing. This is not a show, but it is a flow. And we are just excited for all of the nuggets that have been shared tonight. We'll be back here next Monday, same time, same place, unless otherwise there's a shift, but we will be here. And we want to just say happy Thanksgiving to everybody. May you find peace in just being still and posturing and positioning yourself in a place of gratitude, whether you're spending time with your families, or maybe it's not a blood family, but it's the family of people that God has connected you with divinely. And so wherever you might find yourself this week, and even if you're navigating loss, just know that you are not alone, because God is with you, and that we're sending you love, we're sending you hugs, and we're sending you great peace and comfort right where you are. May you all be blessed, and take care, take charge, and we'll see you next week on Sister to Sister Talk Power Moves. Be blessed. Good night.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Happy holidays.